Hello and welcome to the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Catherine. I am coming to you from the north of Germany, which is where I live with my husband and our three kids. And this is a knitting podcast. So if you're here for some knitting, finished objects, works in progress, and just like some general updates and chatter, then stick around, stay with me, and I'm so glad to be back and finally able to talk to you. So, I meant to podcast earlier because this has now been like a hiatus a little bit longer than usual. So, I try to podcast every week. It turns out that it's generally like every 9 to 10 days, and now it's been over 2 weeks. So, that was unintentional, yet unavoidable somewhat because life has just been super hectic. Hold on, as I have to pull down the curtains back there because I can hardly see the camera. So life has been very busy over the last weeks, unfortunately, because I don't like it when it's super crammed. Also, there wasn't a ton of knitting time, which again is something I didn't enjoy, but we got a lot done. My mother-in-law came for a visit, so those were a few days that were just like spoken for, where we did fun stuff and a lot of stuff around the garden, and she was a big help. Because I mean, we are first season gardeners. We've only moved to the house in late last fall, and now we're experiencing our first garden year. So that is to say, our first actual gardening season. So we are figuring it out as we go, kind of flying by the seat of our pants. Is that how you say that? And I installed a very big plot in our garden, in our back garden, for vegetables, and the potato plants are growing beautifully, and I planted many other things. We are currently building a fence around it so that deer and like rabbits and stuff won't just eat it all up. And when that will have happened, I will be able to transition some things from another plot there. So that is just so much work because we had to really work the land. Like we really had to prepare the entire plot from scratch, and that was just so much work. And thank goodness my mother-in-law was there to help me because that saved me a week or two at least because I don't get to work on it 8 hours a day, but just like here and there a little bit, I have to squeeze it in everywhere, like throughout the day. And then sometimes I will have to cut it short because of the kids, and that's okay, but it's just, it makes it harder. And I'm realizing, and I mean I knew that, but it's like with many transitions in life when the knowing and the feeling are two different things entirely. So I knew that spring is a very busy season in the garden and you have to be quick, but I didn't know what it feels like when suddenly your gardening season is there and then you have to do everything just at once and you have to be super quick and very efficient. That also means you have to have planned ahead, and I did, but not like that. So now next year I will be more organized and just know better what to prepare in advance, and what I tried and it didn't work, and what I tried and it did work, and so that's going to be interesting. Can't wait for next year when I can be more efficient, because I like the feeling of being very efficient. Like I don't really like the trial and error phase of anything at all. I like for things to work the way that I want them to. And that is something I'm now tripping over. I don't like to be a learner. I like to be a doer of things, which is not to say that that's the way to go. It isn't, but that's just my thing. And I'm learning as I am going, because there isn't a way around that. But yeah, well, I'm already in my mind planning everything sort of how I want to lay it out for next year, and where we can put raised beds, and where we can put raised beds for the kids, so that each kid has their own raised bed that they can do whatever they want with, and it's also exciting. And so that is what's been keeping me very busy. Plus I was struggling with a migraine that kind of kept creeping back. So that really, well, knocked me out for a minute there. And other than that, it's just been like your everyday life stuff, taking kids places, picking them up, organizing this and that. And my middle son is starting school this summer, so we are almost, where we live, we're almost at summer break. It's super early this year. So the second to last week of school has started, and then it's 6.5 weeks summer break, and then my middle son is about to start school. So now it's worse than Advent season, believe me, because at his kindergarten they're doing all sorts of events to sort of send off the kids to school and to say goodbye to them, and they have special events planned, and then they visit every kid at home, like the entire kindergarten group, and they do so many things, and it's so fun. But it's like every other day there's something going on that I really have to focus on, because I cannot forget, and that is a lot. Well, it's exciting, and I'm very excited for my son that he gets to do all of this, but oh man, it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of checking your calendar every 10 minutes, feels like. And then I have things to do. I need to squeeze those in. I don't know. And then there's my knitting. And I really don't feel comfortable at all when I have to sacrifice my knitting just to get something else done. When I can't even have this hour or 2 hours in the evening when the kids are in bed, until I go to bed, this little time in between to just sit and knit and just watch something on TV, or, talk to my husband, whatever, but just be and not do something. When gets taken away from me, I tend to be a little bit, not on the edge, but just, I really know that something's wrong with our schedule. And yeah, so I mean, it's an ebb and flow, right? You can't always hit your mark, but well, I'm trying to get back in a different rhythm, and then it's hard when holidays are approaching, and with my kids being on a 6.5 week break, and with all of them hanging at home, then this entire summer, I mean, it's going to be so much fun, but it's hard to find a rhythm for myself now for the last few days before that break, and then during that big break. I have come to understand that school breaks are more stressful than the school year. Also more enjoyable, potentially, but more stressful, definitely. Well, anyway, I don't know if we're interested in that, but yeah, I just had to check my notes because I knew I wanted to say something, and guess what? You can find the show notes just right below this video. It's everything I'm talking about except school breaks and stuff, but like once I start talking about actual knitting. I will link everything below in the description box for you, so you can find my Ravelry page and patterns and whatever it is I'm talking about. You can also find where to find me. So my Instagram, my Ravelry, my Ko-fi page, my email address and whatnot. So whatever it is that you need, please check below in the description box. And yeah, thank you so much for keeping in touch. Okay, I will take a sip of my tea and then I'll show you my few little finished objects. All right. I have gone back to what I did at the beginning of the year and dug out something from hibernation from my knitting basket that is just around the corner in our living room where I am now, and set out to finish that. And the what I did finish are these socks. Aren't they fun? This is I'm going to talk about the yarn in a bit, but I want to talk to you about the process first, because when we moved here, my middle son, that's now going to school, started kindergarten here in our new home for, well, just the interim phase. And that was in early November. And then, while I hung out there with him until he was really like settled in, I just sat in the corner and knit away on my socks so that I had something to do, and also to signal to him, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm not going to interact too much because I'm going to be busy knitting my socks, just so that he ventures out on his own a little bit more. And so it's easier for him to detach from me, because when I'm there all the time, he will not really learn to be there on his own, right? So I knit one of these socks there. I finished another pair there, and then I started this one. You will have seen it on the podcast before, but I don't know when. Well, probably in November. And I had started the second sock, and it was like here. I was at the very beginning, and I knew it's going to be a long leg and the entire sock, and so I never picked it up again. Because once his initial phase, it's called Eingewöhnung. What is that? Once those days were over, when I sat in the corner in his kindergarten room, and I could actually drop him off and then leave, I didn't really work on those so much anymore, just for a week or something, and I didn't. And so those were sort of left in the corner in the basket, I don't know. And I thought that this was kind of ridiculous, and I just should finish them and be able to gift or wear them, because they're not doing anyone any good sitting in the corner, right? So I pulled them out of hibernation, I want to say about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, pretty much exactly 2 weeks ago. And just worked on them consistently whenever I had a minute. And with socks, you can really just knit 3 rounds, and you have a little bit of progress that you actually see, especially with the stripes, and this, because the stripes always help. And then you put it down, and it's nothing. You don't have to, this is just a vanilla sock. I don't have to remember anything about these socks, because I've knit so many socks that a vanilla sock is, well, it's just stored safely in my brain. So I finished them after 4 or 5 days. They were off my needles, and I thought, see, that was fast. Why didn't I do that before? And I can tell you about the yarn. That's Scheepjes Downtown. See, I hope you can see that. That is 75 merino and 25% nylon. It's a very soft yarn, and it says merino extra fine. So I don't know how well these are going to hold up in terms of whether or not they're going to wear holes. I can, report back in a while. But yeah, so that's my Scheepjes yarn. The Downtown series, I think. My color is 406 South Hill. And I have another one of these, obviously. So that's my little yarn ball. These are 50-gram yarn balls. And I figured that they last me exactly for these socks. So I wear size 40, 40 and a half, 41. So what is that? 9 and a half, I think. And I can knit 12 stripes on the leg and then 12 stripes on the foot, which I like. That's kind of neat that they match exactly in length. See? I like that. It's not that it matters, but it's just neat. And it's a 6 color repeat. So with 12 being a multiple, or 24 being a multiple of 6, I automatically start with the same color again, so that they really are matchy, which again, I don't care, but it's neat. And I was left with one color at the end. So there's one more blue stripe that I had left over, but it's like the tiniest scrap. And so that's how I can use up this 50-gram ball exactly. When I put in this contrasting color for heels, cuffs, and toes. And that is just, I think it's on my Ravelry page, but what is this now? It's Jawohl. It's a German sock yarn that I just had left over. If you want to know what this color is, because I think it looks very pretty with these. It just fits. It's the same sort of tone, right? The tonality is the same as with these colors. Um, I think it's a Yavol color, but don't ask me which one. I didn't bring it with me. But you could find it on my Ravelry if you wanted to know. So this is one finished object. I don't, well, maybe I'm going to gift those because I can make another pair. And I felt very inspired, well, tempted to cast out another pair of socks just for the repetitiveness of the process. But I mean, knitting is always repetitive, but for the little round and round and round. And I didn't because I thought, nah, it's not really what I want to knit on. It's just more like I like knitting socks for the project because it's like a super project. It's just a like the perfect knitting project to take with you wherever. But I don't want to spend my time knitting so many socks. I'd rather knit something else. And so I figured if I don't absolutely want to cast them on, like if I don't absolutely have to cast them on, because then I will absolutely do that, I can knit on something else and use that momentum for something else because I'll easily be distracted. Not if it's really, I feel it in my bones. I say that often, but I really do feel it in my bones. The projects that are coming. It's a very physical thing. Like I really feel this is what I have to knit now. This is what's calling my name. This demands to be, picked up next. And that wasn't that with the socks. So if that's not the case, I'll easily be distracted by another project. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, and I didn't feel ready yet for another big project because for the last few episodes I've been knitting on my, hold on, now I have to get this right, habitation throw. You will know that this word is kind of hard for me because I want to say hibernation throw, but it's habitation throw. And I have been knitting on this and I've really enjoyed it. And I got to like the half point, so like to the decrease point. I knit a half a blanket in a pretty short amount of time. I thought, felt like it, because I was just running through it. And it was so much fun. And I wanted to keep going and going and going. And when I showed you in my last episode, I felt in that moment when I talked to you, I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to put this down. And I didn't say it because I didn't really think that was going to happen. Because I was so in love with that project and was going on about this is so fun. And it is so fun, I love the project, and it's sitting right there in the next room. So I didn't store it or anything. It's right there, and I have worked on it, but just like 2 or 3 rows. So I'm not showing it to you today, but I felt that I wanted to go for something smaller, more like bite size, right? So that's why I picked the socks, and that's why I knit these. I cast on and bound off and wove in the ends on 3 little happy dishcloths. And so the story is the following. I just pulled out, because dishcloths are also just such mindless projects, and they're so good for like on the go or just to have something in your hands. And it's a quick cast on, bind off sort of. So it's a quick instant gratification sort of situation. And I had my other, like I had in the past used, because we have many of my dishcloths in rotation, just exclusively my handmade ones, I think. And I used Grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern, so the one that everybody knit. And I can link that below for you. But they always came out a little bit wonky, I felt. And it did not regulate itself with washing, they remained like that. It's not so bad because it's just a dishcloth, which is why I just sort of kept going with that pattern. And it was a recommendation from Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady, right? But when she transitioned over to a different pattern, I printed that out because that was also a free pattern. And she said she had the same issue with the wonkiness. They were never exactly even, those squares. And it, again, for her, like it bothered her, but not terribly much, but enough so that she would try a different pattern. And I printed it out at the time, then never picked dishcloth knitting up again. But now that I did, I remembered that pattern and I got it and I tried that. And with the first, I went for the version with holes. And a spoiler, I'm not knitting dishcloths with holes anymore because I don't love the look. Don't know why. I just don't love it. I don't love knitting them as much as the others, and they feel a little flimsier to me. I mean, if you want to hang them, that's perfect because they have these little holes. It's a neat look. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just I'm not going to stick with that. So that was the first one that I made. And these are, oh man, now I have the colors on my Ravelry page. These are, this is sock yarn, no, hold on, wrong. Cotton yarn from Søstrene Grene, so that Danish shop. It's like Ecotex cotton yarn that they have. It comes in all sorts of colors, and I've used this yarn in the past for my dishcloths. It's perfect. I really love it. And yeah, so I picked out those two colors and put them together for this one dishcloth, and the colors are on my page because, or what I think is the color number, because with that brand it's a little hard to say because there are many numbers on that sleeve and I don't know. I think that's the right ones though, but well, I tried my luck. And then I knit this one. It's a dark teal color, the darker color. They're again a little bit wonky. They're never exactly straight. So the tip where it casts off is always a little pointier. I don't like it, but I don't like that aspect of it, but it's not so bad. Anyway, I'm obsessing about this, but over this. But anyway, so I'll stop stretching it and start showing you. So this is, and I'm gonna hold it closer. Those colors are so fun. So the darker, the tealy color is a mystery skein. That was a leftover from my mother-in-law. So that's not the Søstrene Grene yarn. That's a different, just random cotton yarn that she had, because now I have it. But paired with this, I want to say pink salmon. I love this. This is definitely a keeper, and I think I'm making another one because this color combination is just so great. And I have to say, this sort of pinky orange, the salmon, I wouldn't say it's a salmon color, is really one of my favorite colors, but it's my favorite colors amongst those that I cannot wear. Like, this is not a color I would wear because it does not look good on me, but that's really a shame. I think you are naturally drawn to the colors that look good on you, but with this one, that's not the case. I love the color. I have a purse in that color that is like pretty small that I can wear with dresses when I'm invited places, and that's perfect. I love that purse, but it's not like I wouldn't knit a shirt in that color, unfortunately. And the last one is a color combination that as I knit it, I figured out I've knit that before. I have one of those in rotation. Is the third color combination amongst these three. Again, stretch it out so that it's nice. So the darker color with the mystery color with the light pink, right? Another color combination that I really think is quite nice. And see how the three colors combined differently look very differently, because this is so much brighter and flashier, and here the pink looks so much more muted and just nice. So that's my little stack. I'm going to gift those two, and the one in the middle I'm definitely going to keep. And now we can transition into works in progress. I have, after a few days of just knitting on something else, this morning actually, when I ate breakfast with my kids, cast on another little, what's it called? Dishcloth. Hello, good morning. With these two. Hold on. So this is the cotton yarn from Søstrene Grene. I'm going to show you the ball band. That's what they look like. This I'm assuming is color 140740 from what I gather. It's a little tricky with these ones. And that's another mystery skein that my mother-in-law gave me. So that's what I'm knitting on. I think as I talk to you later towards the end of the video, I'm going to be knitting on this. And for now, I'm putting, oh no, I'm not putting it away quite yet because I'm knitting this on 4.5mm needles. That is my go-to size for cotton yarn, obviously held double, which I didn't say before, hence the marled effect. Held double, 4.5mm needle, which is a, hold on, USA 7. And that's how I knit all of those. And I told you last time that I really strongly dislike knitting with cotton, or the time before. Like sometime in the not so distant past, I told you that I don't like knitting with cotton, except this yarn, held double, knit on a 4.5mm needle and a very specific set of needles. And I pulled these needles out happily because these are my dishcloth needles. They were like this long. I don't know what that is, like 25 centimeters, I want to say. 25 centimeters. And had like a little stop on the end. So they were not DPNs, they were not connected with a cord, but just like your straight needles. And bamboo needles, clover, bamboo, 4.5mm. And I think 25 centimeters long. So that would have been like this much. And those were perfect because I just loved the feeling of the cotton on the bamboo needle. And yes, it made a sound all the time, but it didn't bother me. I love them so much. Like the combination, I just saw my husband was over there, but he isn't. I thought I saw him out of the corner of my eye and thought, has been sitting there his entire time, but no, nobody's here. So those were the needles that I had just paired with these sort of projects, and that's what I wanted to go for. And then my daughter pulled one out that she was allowed to just like feel it. And I want for her to be able and feel the things, the needles, touch them. I don't want to always say, don't touch it, because she is supposed to be, she's supposed to develop an interest, right? Or not supposed to, maybe that's putting it too strongly, but if she is interested, I don't want to limit her, because how is she going to pick up her own knitting if she doesn't have to, but if she wants to? And I'm always like, no, don't touch it. I mean, there are situations when she really should not, because, some knitting is pretty intricate and you don't want to drop a whole lot of stitches. But with this one, it was absolutely okay. And she took a needle and she like ran around with it. And I thought, okay, so don't poke yourself, because she's 3, right? And she didn't. But then after a while, she came back and the needle was broken. Not entirely through, but cracked, and you could just toss it. That was the only thing left to do. And I was pretty upset, not with her so much. I told her that this was kind of not the ideal outcome, but I wasn't angry at her, but I was just so frustrated because I still had those from, there were also memories attached, which it's just a needle. But when I went to New York for a research trip, New York City, that is, all of 10 years ago, if you can believe it, I was knitting with a group for our homeless people. I think it was called Knit Together. And when it was. And we knit for homeless people. And when I went back home to Germany, they gifted me this set of clover needles. So I thought it was so neat that they had their designated project, and I would pull them out not just once in a while, but every time I would work with these cotton yarns and so on. And then she broke them. And I thought, I'm not going to get clover needles here. So that was kind of upsetting. It's not the end of the world. It's just bamboo needles. And also I have the same needle size, and that just works fine. These are not my Knit Pro or Knitter's Pride interchangeable sets, the Symphony set. It's all good. But it was just sad. I was a little bit bummed about that, but okay. I think it's important to not get too upset about this in front of the kids, because things just happen and it's just tools, right? And but yesterday my kids yesterday it happened, and I actually paid my kids to wind yarn for me because I really dislike winding yarn. And I told you before, right, that I toyed with the idea, and then I saw that I can show you the project. So I'm going to put this away for a minute. I saw that I had to wind yarn sorry, this is crinkly, for my new primary work in progress, and they wound these beautiful balls, right? They did a good job, but I had to be there the entire time because my middle son and my daughter, obviously they couldn't do it on their own, and it tests my nerves a lot, winding yarn with kids that want to do everything on their own, but then they do it wrong. And then the 3-year-old, I mean, of course she stops in the middle of winding a strand of yarn, and it's a lot of supervising you have to do, which is okay, and you can do it, but it's just, you have to be patient. I'm not always very patient. I think I often am, but yesterday I really had to hold back my impatience and to like channel the yogi in me. And once my oldest son was home from school, he's 9 years old, the 6 and the 9-year-old could wind yarn together, I thought, because I also had linen yarn that needed winding. And then they did that, and they messed up one ball entirely. Like, I really had to cut out a portion because it was just a mess, and now it sounds worse than it was. But that really upset me, because I thought, okay, guys, you don't have to do it, but if you do want to do it and you want to be paid for it, like 50 cents, but if you want to be paid for it, then please do an okay job, right? And take it seriously, and not just like do whatever and then collect the money and leave the mess, right? And then I was really upset about this because it bothered me, because also I had been so patient before. I think it's okay to let them know that this didn't go well, and also they're more important than the yarn, so it's not terribly bad if they mess up the yarn. But yeah, I had them wind up yarn for me, and it did go so. So I think next time I'd rather do it myself when they're not here than do it when they're there and then they want to do it, and then it's this entire spiel again, But anyway, that goes to say, I'm not going to show you the ball band yet, but maybe the project first. Maybe that makes more sense to you. I picked up, as I put down my blanket, I needed a new sort of main project. And when I didn't really know what it was going to be, even though I think I kind of knew, I knit the socks and the dishcloths, right? And now this new little dishcloth, just like for like an on-the-go project, or to have a little bit of variation. Hold on as I get organized. But then I pulled out another friend from hibernation that you may remember if you've been here before, and that is my, what's it called? Vellichor vest. There you go. This is a beautiful yarn, Isaya yarn, that I got in Denmark. When was that? In 2021. Yeah, so it was the fall of 2021. So 2.5, almost 3 years ago. And I'm gonna spread it out a little bit and show you again. So that's the yarn I got there. This is beautiful Isayer alpaca 2 yarn. I have knit this pattern before. Have I shown it on the podcast? Maybe I have, but I don't own it anymore. So I have knit the Vellichor vest. It's in this very yarn, just different colors. I've told you before many times, and the color was not for me at all, like at all. I'm a true winter color type, and that was fall colors. So like a very rusty orange and a brown, and that was just not for me. It's a beautiful piece. It was joy to knit. It's got really fun memories attached to the knitting process. And I did wear it around the house. It's very light. It's light as air, and warm. But I looked in the mirror and thought, yeah, no, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna. I'm just not gonna wear it outdoors, you know. So I picked up. So I had bought that yarn in Denmark, and when we next went to Denmark, way back when, I picked up this yarn. And I thought a dark gray as a main color, and then this light pink, and then this light gray, that would work. I think now I would actually switch it to main color, the light pink, and then the gray and white stripes. That would be my color choice today. But I had already bought the right quantity of everything, because I knew exactly how much I was going to need. And that is the yarn. So, like I said, it's, hold on, Isaiah Alpaca 2, which is 50% alpaca and 50% wool. And this, what's what? Hold on. So the gray is color 269905. No, that's the dye lot. I'm sorry. 4S. It's an undyed color, I'm assuming. The pink is color 61, and the light gray is color E2S. So that would be, is that really the one? Sounds so familiar. Like it was one of the other colors. But I'm assuming the light gray is also undyed. That's what they look like. So, I like the palette. It's very neutral, and I like the grays a lot. It's a pattern for me that, since I've knitted before, that I know I want really toned down, relaxed colors. I wouldn't knit this in like a hot pink. Not that there's anything wrong with that. You can do whatever you want, but I wouldn't knit it in a strong, like in a bright green color, something like that. But I wanted something very low-key, sort of neutral, goes with everything color. Also because it's a vest, so you throw it over whatever you have on. For me, that's usually when I like with this situation, it's a black long sleeve, or maybe a very dark gray long sleeve, and I have a very dark green long sleeve, but that's it. Like, it doesn't get any fancier than that. So that would always fit, right? I figured. Oh, by the way, today I'm wearing my sea glass tee. It's not a vest, right? It's a t-shirt that I was so in love with knitting. Oh man, that was one of the best projects ever. Like, best in the sense of funnest. So I'm going to link my episode on sea glass tee if you haven't watched it, so that you can go back and learn all about that project, because it's amazing. And now, so the needles, I don't actually know. Oh, it's a 3.25 millimeter needle. My Knit Pro Zings. This should be 100 centimeter cord, so that would be 40 inches, wouldn't it be? Or maybe it's only 80 centimeters. That is an 80 centimeter cord, which is not as many inches. I don't know. But the needle 3.25 is a US size 3. And yeah, that's my Vellichor. I am knitting a size 3. And yeah, it's going to be wider, right? Because this is scrunched up here. See? So it's going to be, I don't know, like this, maybe. And very comfortable. I already know what it's going to feel like, and also I know how long to knit for, so that it hits me like the other one did. So that's cool. And I picked it up. Well, it's kind of hard. I mean, the color choice is A little bit so because you cannot really see that contrasting stripe every sixth round, right? So you have five garter ridges that are in pink, and then one that is in this light gray, and then five in pink, and then this one is the light gray one, and then you keep repeating until you want to stop, basically, until you think it's long enough, and you want to put in the armholes, and there could have been more contrast to it, but I'm totally okay with it being what it is. Also, I can always knit another, don't you worry. I can always, I tried because I thought the purple might look nice. And I have a very toned down purple alpaca yarn. But it turned out, and I knit a swatch, it didn't look as nice. The gray was just nicer, the light gray. And I thought, okay, so I'm just going to go with that, with my initial plan. And it doesn't matter to me if the contrasting stripe stands out or not. And if it doesn't, if there is not as much of an accent on these stripes, I think the horizontal stripes or vertical stripes, oh man, these two, horizontal, I think the vertical stripes are just going to stand out more for that. And that's okay for me. I mean, that's going to look fun as well. So either way, I'm going to be a happy camper, I think. And yeah, so yeah, what I wanted to tell you is when I picked it up, I was at the halfway mark, sort of. I had knit the first, gray stripe, and since then I've knit up until here. And I picked it up the day after my big migraine that really threw me off, and I picked it up on Saturday. And I think Saturday was knit in public day, but I didn't know because I never realize, I never know until it's over every year. But my husband was working in the garden, and he was working on putting the fence in for our plot, but it's a big plot and it's a long fence, so he couldn't finish on that weekend, which is why it's still underway, that project. And he said, well, why don't you just grab a chair and just keep me company and just sit with me as I work in the garden. And so I did that. And I pulled this out on that day and started knitting very slowly because I really also had a shoulder pain. I knit very slowly. And then our neighbors started walking. So we were positioned in a place where they would have to walk down way deep into their garden so that they could even see us, right? Because we were sort of hidden behind one of our sheds. And so when they walked there and we just waved over, they saw me sitting there knitting, and we don't know each other that well, so that they know that I'm a knitter, like with a capital K, or even knitter per se. And they were laughing, and it was so fun. And in the aftermath, I realized that I kind of took advantage of knitting in public day because I kind of came out to the neighborhood as a knitter, and they realized, there are people in the garden who, want to knit, want to spend their time knitting. So that was kind of fun. Anyway, that's how much progress I made on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Today's Tuesday. And that is decent. I thought it was going to be slower because this is not a fast pattern. I mean, it's a size 3, but it's supposed to be worn oversized. So the circumference is relatively big, even for the smaller sizes. So A, that's a factor, right? And then B, it's slip stitches, right? You have 3 stitches and then a slip stitch pattern. And slip stitches also go by the name of mosaic knitting, and I do not like mosaic knitting. I really usually don't. I know, for example, the grocery girls love mosaic knitting, and many of Jody's hat patterns are mosaic knitting, and I can do it. And a hat isn't too bad because it's over before you know it. But I'm always like, oh no, thank you. I don't want to knit mosaic knitting because it just bothers me. It just bothers me. I've knit many of Andrea Mowry's, not many, but some of Andrea Mowry's, and this is also Andrea Mowry, mosaic knitting patterns, and like this cowl, this beautiful shift cowl. The shift cowl. It's all over freaking mosaic knitting, and it was driving me up the walls. It Mosaic knitting has a way of stopping my stopping me short, right? You always have to pause and then pick up those stitches and then knit, 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 pause. Um, it isn't a flow for me. There are people who love it and they get in a flow state. I don't. I don't. With mosaic knitting, as with seed stitch, so knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, and then next round, purl one, knit one. Same. I never get into a flow. It's purely, not purely, but mostly a project knit, not a process knit. I really want this vest. I want to wear it. And I want to wear with the yarn, work with the yarn. So it is a process knit in that regard. Also, I don't hate knitting it at all. I enjoy knitting it. So there is an aspect of process knitting here, but it's not the slipping stitches. Oh man, it's if I can go without, I'll go without, but I love this pattern, so I'll not skip. It's not so bad that I would skip the pattern, and I would definitely knit this pattern another time. So, but the night shift, the shift cowl, there is no way that I'm going to knit this again, because it was, well, I'm just going to say it was torture for me, and it was not worth it for me in the end. Also because I had a sort of difficult yarn choice that was not right. So it truly wasn't worth it, but no, I'm not a slip stitch girl. I'm really not. If you are, yay for you. They're amazing, just incredibly beautiful patterns out there. And it's a fun way to do color work if you don't like stranded color work. I like stranded color work and would always choose this over slip stitches, but I'm also very happy with this pattern. And it's just that these slip stitches, they slow me down. And it's a slow process. But if I can get one of these blocks, I want to say, like these increments of five contrasting rounds, and then one contrast color 2 round, garter ridge. You know what I mean. If I can get these in like about 3 days, it's okay. It shouldn't take me forever. And I like a fingering weight sweater project. That doesn't bother me at all. I prefer it to heavier weight yarn. I'm a real true fingering weight sweater girl. Through and through. Totally, right? But I just don't love the slip stitching of it. The slipping of stitches. I don't love that. I'm going to put this away. Okay, the crinkling is over because yes, I was just so lazy. I just kept the project in my paper bag that they gave me at the store in Denmark when I bought the yarn, And yesterday thought I might transition this over to, what is happening here? Oh my goodness. To a project bag, and then I thought, it's okay. For me, that's the right place for that project. It's been there all this time, so I'm not going to bother now putting it someplace else. Oh man, what has happened here? Yarn barf is a thing, people. Now, this is not my kids. I brought this on myself. Okay. So now for the rest of the podcast, I'm just going to sit here and knit on my dishcloth. And because with the Vellichor vest, I would have had to have looked down the entire time because it's not a pattern way. Just sit and knit and look into the camera, but you have to really look down the entire time because it's I'm not that well versed in slip stitching without looking. There's too much that will go wrong there. And then there's a little braid worked in there, or a little faux braid, and I don't want to get in the business of having to work this back up without ripping it out. So no, that's dangerous territory. So I just quickly wanted to talk to you about what I've been watching as I knit, because I don't watch television when I don't knit. But when I knit, I usually watch television or knitting podcasts or listen to something, but I would rather not I no not would rather, but I usually watch something on the TV. So obviously I've talked about my Bridgerton obsession before, so I'm not going to go into that except to say two more sleeps and then part two of the season will drop. So yay! And I've watched, I want to say, every interview out there, maybe not every single one. And I also think they're dropping more, now that the next season is almost, not season, but the part of the season is almost there. But I've watched so much, I want to say every additional material out there. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited for it to continue. But the trailer for the next part of the season did not leave me like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. But more like, oh, okay, is this all? But no, it's not going to be all. Anyway, I have rewatched The Nanny. Oh no, hold on. With Bridgerton, what did I want to say? I've been listening to the podcast because now all 4 of those episodes are out. It's a Bridgerton original, so it's produced by Shondaland, and at least that's what I think. But it's from the TV show producers, so. But it's fun. It isn't that big of a thing, I don't think, but it's okay. It's fun, as an additional material. Right. And then I wanted to say I've rewatched The Nanny, not entirely, but just because it popped up and I thought, oh man, I haven't watched that in forever. And I used to love The Nanny. So I watched just a few episodes across the 6 seasons. When it was on, it certainly felt like it was more than 6, but it's fun and funny. And yeah, I just I skipped a handful and then I watched one and then I skipped 5, 6, 7 and watched one. So I've kind of made my way through, not entirely, but almost through those seasons, and it was just fun to revisit and just go back. And then I discovered a podcast that's called an audio podcast, that is. I'm listening to it on Spotify, but I don't know who's produced by, but I think you can listen to it pretty much wherever. And it's called The Podcast Around the Corner. And it focuses on Nora Ephron's work. And I love Nora Ephron. If you don't know her, you really have to dive into that rabbit hole or just get acquainted with her writing more than anything. Because her writing is not more than anything, but her writing is just, she's a brilliant essayist. She was a journalist, an essayist. And also she wrote screenplays. She didn't originally write, but adapted the Sleepless in Seattle screenplay, and the screenplay of For Harry Met Sally was her original one, and also You've Got Mail and so many others. So those are amongst my absolute favorite movies of all time and have been for, 20 years now. So movies that will be amongst my top 10 for sure. And she is just incredible. I mean, she has passed away. I don't know when. And she passed away very suddenly of leukemia, I think. So that is an incredible loss. And she went way too early. She was just in her early 70s. And oh my goodness, I mean, what she could have still produced, she was such a phenomenon. She was so incredible. And I've read many of her essays, and I've read Heartburn, which was also made into a movie, but I didn't ever see it. But the novel is very funny. I don't remember ever laughing that hard over another novel. Hold on, what did I do here? The thing is, if you hold yarn double, it kind of also makes sense to look down because it's a nuisance if you just knit one of the strands like I did twice in a row here, and then you have to catch the other next time around. Um, well, but yeah, Nora Ephron is generally just such a recommendation, and her movies and her writing alike, and she's just amazing. And this podcast, so it's called Podcast Around the Corner for the Shop Around the Corner from You've Got Mail, and they go through her work, through her on-screen work, not on screen because she wasn't an actress, but like through her screenwriting and directing, in order chronologically from the earliest to the latest. Julie and Julia was the latest, the last that she did. And at the time of filming, I think she already knew this was going to be her last movie, and nobody else knew, right? So yeah, they go through that, and they have episodes on every one of these productions, and that's very interesting. And it's so fun to hear people talk who are also nerdy about Nora Ephron, or just knowledgeable about Nora Ephron, and just, yeah, well, know so much about her work and get so many cross references, more than I, for sure. But yeah, it's just, if that's your thing, and if you enjoy Nora Ephron and maybe you haven't heard of her, of this podcast before, then do check it out. It was great fun listening to it. I'm not through by any means, but I listened to a handful of episodes, and they were really fun, like 6, 7, 8, something like that. They were really fun. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I'm so happy I finally got to sit down with you and catch up. I don't know how long I've been talking for now. I think quite a while. I'll get to editing this probably tomorrow or tonight. It could happen tonight. We'll see. And then I will, well, just upload the episode as soon as I can, because I've been away way longer than I intended and also expected, but sometimes that's what it is. So anyway, if you've been enjoying this, consider subscribing to the channel and giving the video a thumbs up. That helps me immensely with this channel, with like keeping going. I put up, like I said, videos in English usually every week or 9 to 10 days. And that's the sort of rhythm I intend to get back to, and I hope to get back to. Who knows with summer break, but maybe that might also make it easier because we have a more flexible schedule, sort of. I don't know. We will see. I hope to next time be able to podcast from our garden again, from under our walnut tree, because now it's in full lush glory, and I will be able to just sit under it and podcast from there. That would be fun. And I will be coming to you with a German episode, because I do those quarterly, in, well, early July or mid-July. I don't know, in July, sometime in July, because we have a kid's birthday coming up around that time, and so who knows. But in July, I'm going to record a sort of review of the last quarter in German and put it on my channel. Okay, I hope you can really settle into the late spring, early summer season, or reversely, late fall, early winter, wherever it is that you are. I want to thank you for hanging out with me, for allowing me to hang out with you for a little bit, for taking that time out of your day, and it'll be so fun if you chose to come back. Until next time, happy knitting, happy making, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.